That is one of the most famous commercials in US culture history. It's important because Steve Jobs saw Microsoft as the way that people would become Orwellian. All dressed in white, all using the exact same devices. All of us using something that looks the exact same with the same... Wait a minute, Apple became Orwellian! What's interesting is that corporatism and computing always fight one another. You could try your best to stay independent and try your best to be different from another machine, but eventually capitalism intervenes, which you'll see several times over this course. That once people start becoming buying power of these machines, there's no way to identify yourself as independent. You become part of the larger system. So now everyone owns some sort of Apple product in some way, or if you don't, you're somewhere similar to somebody who does. You're usually within 1 degree or yourself from owning an Apple product, which is exactly in the last 30 years what he didn't want to happen. Or did he? So sometimes we're going to look at the way that marketing works later in this course, that marketing itself is designed to make you think one way, so you could become a belief of that culture, and then it feeds you the belief of the other culture. This way you feel as if you're resisting that culture, but you're actually buying directly into it. It's not your fault, it's how marketing works. Especially marketing with digital products, because when you really back away from all your digital products, you realize they're not much different from each other. What they are is more of a lifestyle. So that brings me to my last point. That in the 1980s, we started thinking about how digital media is a lifestyle. How these things are something that make you who you are because of how you use it. And the more you could understand that, the things you start to understand is that people are their products. We today will take care of our products as well as we would take care of another human. While we're on an online class, in a normal class, I would ask the class, how many of you have ever turned around to go pick up your cell phone? Or had some sort of severe anxiety when you didn't have your cell phone with you? That's an amazing thought, because that cell phone is just a device. On the other hand, it's your connection to the entire world. You'll understand that I'm pro digital media. I believe that we need it. I think it's very important to have, and I think it's what people should be working with. On the other hand, I think we should be very aware of data valence. That's surveillance with data. How much data we're leaving behind. Everything from this video that I'm recording now, to my voice, to my image, to the things I'm sharing, to the YouTube account I have, they're all part of a larger structure of keeping track of what we do with our data. Why? At some point, somebody realized all of this data is very valuable, that it can be used to create new algorithms and selling techniques directly to you. The actions you choose with your digital media end up getting sold directly back to you in convenience style ads, things that fit your needs rather than something else. This way you're not looking at ads that don't affect you. You're not looking through a magazine and seeing a cologne ad when you're looking for perfume. You're only seeing perfume ads, or you're only seeing things that play directly into your likes. That's something that's customized to you inside of the data world, inside of this large sphere of how many things connect to one another. And these are things that you should be thinking about. Because I think a lot of corporatism doesn't tell us to do any critical inquiry or help us start thinking about how these things affect our daily lives. What they do is they actually try to pacify us, make us think less about them. Or, in some ways, they try to shock us, so when we become shocked, it becomes normalized. And in that normalization, we then become okay when something half as weird appears some years later. These are the normal processes of digital media. And the more that we use it, the more we participate in it. The more we participate in it, the more we have a role of playing in it. Now, one last thing to note. You have to keep in mind that when you use the internet, you are using a weapon. I know you don't think about it that way, but even accessing this class or taking online education, which we will talk about later, is something of use on a weaponized device. Remember that video about the history of the internet? Remember, DARPA invented the internet. That's a weapons company. In other words, when you use the internet, you are actively participating in a worldwide weapon. It may not be used that way strategically, but in part 2 of this class, Cyber War, you're going to see that we're currently in a cyber war. We've been in a cyber war since about 2003. It's our biggest Cold War that no one cares about. You should be caring about it because you're vulnerable at all times. You should understand that you are out there, your identity's out there, and at any moment it can be breached. We don't think about it because the more we think about it, the more restricted we would be on the internet. We're restricted, they don't make our ad dollars. So there's things to keep in mind. So, I do hope you enjoy the class, and I hope that you enjoy some of these lectures and what we're going to be talking about over the course of the semester. At times it's going to be a little difficult. If there's any questions, you have to ask me. You will be watching several films in this class. The films are very important because you're going to be analyzing them on the discussion boards. You're going to be both analyzing them as far as your own personal analysis, but also discussing them with your classmates. There's only a few of you in here, so it shouldn't be hard to make these discussions happen. In order to move on, the modules will be based on these lectures that I'm doing, which lead to quizzes. Those quizzes then unlock the next module. You only can move to the next module or next lecture when you've done all the discussions, which is 2 per person, and an analysis of whatever those pieces of readings or viewings are. Usually 2 per section, so 2 films and reading and so forth. So there's short bits. It will be highly described in text. These videos are more for me to describe things to you or to break things down. The last thing that you're responsible for is to ask questions. You have to ask a lot of questions. If you ask the questions, I can answer them in the lecture. I don't ever reuse material. I always start fresh each time. So you have to ask the questions that you're unsure of, because this way I could answer them in the next lecture, and then I can put them into it and revolve the class around you. I don't like building the class on my end. I like wondering what you're interested in and making it work for you because this is your time, your future, and what you're actually interacting with. So I think you'll like the film selections. Some of them are recommended viewings. I will refer to them, so sometimes I'll make a reference and you'll have to just understand it. Hopefully you've seen it, and if you haven't, they'll be inside the list of the readings and viewings list. So you'll have to go to those viewings in order to understand my reference. Or not, you just simply don't have to understand them if you don't want. They won't affect your class. I think it's just more important for you to be a well-rounded digital media citizen. So, hope you enjoy this class, and please be creative. The more creative you are, the better the class will be, and the more happy I'll be reading your work, and the more happy I think you'll be with understanding the content that we have. Thanks.